Good day, students. Welcome to our discussion on Module 1 entitled The Philosophical Perspectives on the Self. We have three objectives at the end of this module. You will be able to compare and contrast the philosophical perspectives on the self. Number 2, examine yourself against the different philosophical views of the self. The third one, distinguish how the philosophical perspectives on the self are applied. We have here pre-activity. This is not yet your final activity for this module. Number 1, what is your impression on this subject? Ano ang inyong palagay sa subject na ito? Number 2, do you think you know yourself well enough? Yes or no? State your reason. Do you think it is beneficial for a person to dig in further information, traits, and characteristics within himself or herself? So there must be a time in our life when we ask the question, who am I? Sino ka nga ba talaga or sino nga ba talaga ako? So this question may pwedeng naitanong na ito ng inyong teacher during a philosophy class. So this question requires a lot of contemplation or meditation. Nang sa ganon, you will be able to arrive at a particular perception, pananaw about the self. So there are two possible sources of answer to the question, who am I? Una dito is the philosophy, and number 2, science. Just to answer the question, who am I? So class, to answer the question, who am I, we have here the two sources or the two perspectives on the self. We have the philosophical view and the scientifically view. So philosophically, one may point at religion in defining a human being as composed of what? Body and soul, created by a supreme being, that we are created by God. Scientifically view, one may attempt to break down the body into parts, that we are composed of heart, brain, arms, legs, and face, at marami pang iba. Okay, so that's the philosophical view and scientifically view. These are the two perspectives on the self, just to answer the question, who am I? So it has something to do with the philosophy and science. Class, science has found some answers to our physiological functioning, explain how parts of the body works like a machine. So if we say physiological, it has something to do with our physical body. Yung mga iba't ibang parts ng ating katawan, kung ano yung kanilang mga function. Okay? So it has been a successful in unlocking many secrets about human anatomy. So it has enlightened us on many mysteries about human evolution. Okay? But science has its limits. May limit pa rin ang science. Okay? Though we are now in a high technology, but again, science has its limit. Okay? So for instance, in its attempt to reproduce human beings, yung tinatawag nating cloning, it has a limit. Okay? It cannot, ang cloning, meaning to say, it cannot install or breed spirit or soul. If we go back to the philosophical view, only the supreme being can install the spirit and the soul of a human. Okay? So, on a clone which will make one truly human. Kasi the spirit, the soul, okay, itong dalawang aspeto na ito yung kukompleto sa ating pagiging tao. Okay? So that's the philosophical view. Okay? So again, science has its limits. It cannot install spirit or soul. Okay? Though kaya niyang i-install yung physical body dahil nga sa cloning, but ito ay limited. Hindi niya kayang i-install or i-clone yung spirit o kaluluwa ng tao. So that's the whole point. So again, the title of our module 1 is Philosophical Perspectives on the Self. So if we say philosophical, from the root word philosophy. So it is a liberal art that presents various philosophers, offering multiple perspectives and ideas. So pag may philosophy, ibig sabihin may philosophers. It pertains to people who contribute or they have their own ideas and perspective, okay, on this certain topic, the self. Okay, philosophically, discussion of the self is a basic search for meaning and purpose in life, because every one of us, we believe that we have that meaning and purpose in life. Okay? We have that purpose in life. Again, class, philosophically, discussion of the self is a basic search for meaning and purpose in life. So in searching for meaning and purpose in life, we have here the determination, rationalization, identification of the self, set direction from which an individual travels to fulfill his or her purpose in life. So in order for you, class, na ma-achieve, ma-fulfill yung purpose mo in life, you should have this determination. You should have rationalization. You should be a rational being. Ibig sabihin, mayroon kang critical thinking skills. You have the thinking abilities to investigate, analyze, experiment, develop something more good about yourself. Okay? So, these three aspects, you should have this to fulfill your purpose in life. The first philosopher is Socrates. He is principally concerned with man. The famous line of Socrates is, "Know yourself or know thyself." It tells each man to bring his inner self to light. So the core of Socratic ethics is the concept of virtue and knowledge. So if we say virtue, it is the deepest and most basic propensity of man. Most basic propensity means most basic way of man. A conformity to a standard of right. If we say conformity, ang conformity class, conformity is a type of social influence involving a change in belief or behavior. Nang sa ganon, we will be able to fit in with a group or a society. Nang sa ganon, makasabay tayo. So we have to conform kung ano yung set of principles. We have to conform kung ano yung set of standards within a group or a society. Kailangan we have to go with the flow. Kung ano yung standard na sinusunod. Like for example is, sa atin, we have, in our society, we have to conform to in respecting elders. For example, kailangan respetohin yung mga matatanda. So, in order for you to fit in, you have to conform. Kailangan nakikiayon ka on that certain virtue, on respecting elders. So, kailangan makiayon ka. Kailangan umispeto ka din sa mga matatanda because that is the standard of right. So you have to conform. So that is virtue. Okay? Conformity to a standard of right. A condemnable quality or trait. So, in Tagalog, kabutihan. So, natural na daw ito sa ating isipan, or it is in our nature as human being. So again, in Socratic ethics, nandyan yung concept of virtue and knowledge. And self-knowledge is the source of all wisdom. Again, for us na mga matured na, we have that self-knowledge. Okay? We have that, if we say self-knowledge kasi, you have that discernment na eh. You know what is good and what is right. Okay, you know what is wrong and what is bad. Something like that. So that is self-knowledge. You have that already. Yung tinatawag nating discernment. Okay? So self-knowledge, the source of all wisdom. So, an individual may gain possession of oneself and be one's own master through knowledge. So if you have that self-knowledge, okay, you will be able to regulate yourself, no, na hindi gawin yung masama at gawin kung ano yung tama. Okay? Self-knowledge. It is the source of all wisdom. Next philosopher we have Plato, the ideal self, the perfect self. According to Plato, one man was omniscient or all-knowing before he came to be born into this world. With his separation from paradise of truth and knowledge and his long exile on earth, he forgot most of the knowledge he had. But again, sabi niya dito, however, by constant remembering, sa tuloy-tuloy na pag-alala natin sa pamamagitan ng contemplation or meditation at paggawa ng mabuti, then we can regain our former perfections. So that is the ideal self and perfect self for Plato. Next is Immanuel Kant, respect for self. Sinabi niya, man is the only creature who governs and directs himself and his actions. Tayo lang yung bukod tanging nilalang na kaya nating pamahalaan yung ating mga sarili at yung ating mga actions. We sets up ends for ourselves and for our purpose. Okay? So, every man is thus an end himself and should never be treated merely as a means. So, ang tao daw ay hindi dapat, it should not be treated or gamitin just to gain or attain your wants para lang makuha yung gusto mo. You yourself is able to fulfill your goal, fulfill your purpose, no? So he believed that justice should always prevail as per the order of the Creator and the natural order of things. Justice should always prevail. So, meaning, justice is for everyone. Justice has no respecter of person, walang pinipili. It is for everybody. Kasi yun yung will ng lumikha sa atin according to Immanuel Kant. At yun yung tamang set, pagkakaayos-ayos ng mga bagay-bagay. Okay? That is for Immanuel Kant. So, he said, respect others as you would respect yourself. That is justice for Immanuel Kant. That respect is for everybody. Walang pinipiling tao. Sabi niya, respetuhin mo ang iba gaya ng pagrespeto mo sa iyong sarili. So a person should not be used as a tool, as I have said, no? Na hindi dapat gamitin ang kapwa-tao just for or just to accomplish kung ano man yung ninanais mo sa buhay. So, thus all men are persons gifted with the same basic rights. We all have that basic rights. For example, is our right to live. Regardless kung sino ka, you have that right to live. Or you have that right to be respected by other people. And should treat each other as equals. We are all equal, but we have different purposes. Okay? So that is Immanuel Kant, respect for self. Respect others as you would respect yourself. Next philosopher is René Descartes, I think, therefore, I am. Sabi ni Descartes, ang the self is a thinking entity. Okay, distinct from the body. Our self is a thinking entity. May pag-iisip tayo, may sarili tayong pag-iisip. So this is his famous principle, cogito ergo sum, meaning I think therefore I am. This is his famous principle. So he said, although the mind and the body are independent, magkaiba, sabi niya, from each other, and serve their own function. So the mind and the body are independent from each other and serve their own function. Iba yung function ng pag-iisip, iba yung function ng ating body. Okay? So man must use his own mind. Kailangan gamitin natin yung ating pag-iisip. Okay? And our thinking abilities. Mayroon tayong mga kakayanan. May kakayanan yung ating pag-iisip na mag-investigate, mag-analyze, experiment, and develop himself. Like for example, is in our decision making. Na hindi tayo padalos-dalos in our decision making, di ba? So we need to think a million times before we decide. So that is a thinking abilities. That is a perfect picture of our thinking abilities. Na nag-a-analyze tayo, nag-experiment tayo, nag-i-investigate tayo, nagdi-develop tayo on ourselves. So that is for René Descartes, I think. Therefore, I am. The self is a thinking entity distinct from the body. Next is John Locke, personal identity. So John Locke holds that personal identity or the self is a matter of psychological continuity. Okay? So for him, personal identity is founded on consciousness. We are conscious, di ba? Or memory, and not the substance of either the soul or the body. So again, it has something to do with our mind. Okay? So we are conscious enough as a human being. We are aware of what we are doing, di ba? So he's famous of his tabula rasa theory or the blank slate or clean slate theory. So ang konseptong ito, class, it says on this theory that an individual, human being is born blank. Ipinanganak tayong blanco. Meaning, with no built-in mental content. Diba? So parang wala pang muwang. Wala tayong muwang tayo ay ipinanganak. Kumbaga, wala pa yung identity natin is not yet determined, kumbaga. And that their identity is defined entirely. Then that identity is being defined sa pamamagitan ng ating mga experiences, personal experiences after birth. So thus it creates our unique personality. Okay? So our identity is defined entirely by the events after birth through our personal experiences. So that is our unique personality. It creates our unique personality. Next is David Hume, the self is the bundle theory of mind. Again, if you say bundle, kumbaga isang bundle, isang bugkus, or ibig sabihin marami. More than one, more than two. Bundle theory of mind. A collection. Okay? So if you say collection, marami. Again, ang self daw natin is a person. We have no clear and intelligible idea of ourselves. Wala daw tayong malinaw at intelligible na idea tungkol sa ating sarili. So ibig sabihin, a person can never observe oneself without some other perception according to David Hume. So sa pamamagitan din ng perception or pagtingin sa atin ng ibang tao, doon din natin nakikita yung ating sarili. Doon din natin nakikilala na di-determine yung self natin through the perception of other people. He asserts that what we call the self is really just a bundle or collection of different perceptions. Iba't ibang perceptions coming from other people. So that is for David Hume. The self is the bundle theory of mind. The last one is Saint Augustine, love and justice as the foundation of the individual self. So Saint Augustine, he believes that a virtuous life is a dynamism of love or a philosophy of love. It is a constant following of and turning towards love, while a wicked life is a constant turning away from love. Wicked life is a life that is full of hatred, a life that is full of anger, full of selfishness. Okay? So, wicked life is a life full of sin. Okay? So, if you have that wicked life, according to Saint Augustine, you are turning away from love. Lumalayo ka sa pag-ibig kung you have that wicked life. Okay? So, it says here, according to Saint Augustine, loving God means loving one's fellow man. Okay? Kung minamahal mo ang Diyos, sabi niya, ibig sabihin, minamahal mo na din yung kapwa mo. And by that, loving one's fellow man denotes never doing any harm to another. So, by loving one's fellow man, sa pamamagitan ng pagmamahal mo sa iyong kapwa, ibig sabihin, hindi mo raw, or kung mahal mo ang iyong kapwa, hindi mo sinasaktan. Or hindi dapat saktan kung totoong minamahal mo ang iyong kapwa. As the golden principle of justice states, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Gawin mo sa iba ang gusto mong gawin din nila sa iyo. Or let us reverse, huwag mong gawin sa iba ang ayaw nilang gawin sa iyo. That is love and justice as the foundation of the individual self, according to Saint Augustine. Another example, begets or respect begets respect. Okay? If you want to be respected, then you should respect others first. Matuto muna tayong umispeto sa iba, then that respect would bounce back to us. Okay? So that is love and justice for Saint Augustine. So class, we are done with our discussion. So for your activity 1, in your own words, explain the following statements. Know thyself, 5 points. I think, therefore I am, 7 points. Love and justice as the foundation of the self, 8 points. So take note, in your own words, in your own understanding, based from our discussion. Okay? So good luck for your activity 1. So class, that's the end of our discussion for Module 1. Thank you and God bless.